Hi from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Munmun Bhattacharya. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy becomes first former head of EU state to be jailed, proclaims his innocence while heading to Paris prison. US Vice President J.D. Vance visits Israel as Washington tries to stabilize shaky phase of Gaza ceasefire. Conservative nationalist Sanae Takaichi elected as Japan's first female Prime Minister. PM Modi congratulates Takaichi on her election as PM. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy began his prison term in Paris on Tuesday after being sentenced to 5 years for conspiring to raise campaign funds from Libya. Sarkozy was once the conservative president of France between 2007 and 2012. He is the first former French leader to be jailed since Nazi collaborator Marshal Philippe Pétain after World War II. This conviction ends years of legal investigations into claims that Sarkozy's 2007 election campaign received millions of euros in cash from Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, who was later overthrown and killed during the Arab Spring uprisings. US Vice President J.D. Vance arrived in Israel on Tuesday as Washington works to steady the fragile first phase of the Gaza ceasefire and push both Israel and Hamas towards tougher concessions in upcoming talks. Vance's visit follows Monday's talks between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US envoys Stephen Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, and comes as Hamas meet mediators in Cairo. A senior Israeli official said Vance's mission is to advance negotiations into the second phase of the ceasefire, as he is also expected to visit joint US-led force headquarters overseeing Gaza stabilization. Earlier, President Donald Trump warned that Hamas would be eradicated if it violates the Gaza deal, accusing the group of recent violent acts and public executions during the delicate truce period. US President Donald Trump has warned that Hamas would be eradicated if it breaches the Gaza deal with Israel.
You know, we have 59 countries that agreed to the deal. We have peace in the Middle East for the first time ever. We made a deal with Hamas that, you know, they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated, and they know that.
US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner met with released Israeli hostages in Tel Aviv on Tuesday. The two also held talks with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a day earlier as Washington pushed to get the Gaza ceasefire plan back on track after a weekend surge of violence threatened to derail the fragile truce. Meanwhile, aid deliveries to Gaza continue. Trucks were seen returning empty to Egypt's Rafah crossing after offloading supplies on Tuesday as more aid entered through Israeli-controlled routes. French President Emmanuel Macron, who is in Slovenia for the Mid-9 summit on Tuesday, called for aid routes into Gaza to be reopened as a matter of absolute urgency to allow crucial aid in for war-stricken civilians.
In this context, it is also why we wish to remain committed along with our European, Arab and US partners to immediately obtain, and this is a matter of absolute urgency, the reopening of humanitarian sites and routes so that aid, food and basic necessities can be brought to the population, and also of course to assist the injured, all the most vulnerable individuals and families who need to be evacuated from the territory of Gaza to be cared for in hospitals in the region.
In a historic milestone for Japanese politics, hardline conservative Sanae Takaichi has been formally appointed as Japan's first female prime minister on Tuesday after securing victories in parliamentary votes. Takaichi garnered 237 votes in the 465-seat lower house, exceeding the majority threshold. In the upper house runoff against opposition leader Yoshihiko Noda, she won 125 votes. This follows the Liberal Democratic Party's coalition with the right-wing Japan Innovation Party succeeding Shigeru Ishiba amid election setbacks. Takaichi pledges economic reforms, stronger U.S. ties and increased women's cabinet roles without quotas. Palomi Burman now joins us from Tokyo. Sanae Takaichi makes history after becoming Japan's first female prime minister. After clinching a historic vote at the lower house, Takaichi's victory is a huge one. And how do you assess this?
Well, it's a very historic, in fact, a very symbolic moment for people in Japan as Japan gets its first female prime minister. Sanae Takaichi is in fact the fourth prime minister in just about 5 years, representing the leading party of Japan, that is LDP. After the former prime minister stepped down, she was elected as the president of the leading party of Japan, that is LDP. However, since then she has faced several challenges and crises in the Diet, including their long-term ally and the coalition with the Komeito, which came down, and the Komeito decided to walk away from the coalition. However, the Japan Innovation Party came together once again and formed the coalition, thus making history, giving Japan its first female prime minister.
Palomi, what are the challenges that lie ahead in front of her now?
Japan has already got its first female prime minister, Sanae Takaichi. However, going forward, Sanae Takaichi will have to deal with several challenges. And let's take a look at some of these challenges that she has to deal with going forward. LDP has never had a coalition with the party, Japan Innovation Party, before, which might raise the question that whether they are going to have a smooth journey going forward, because there might be challenges while passing legislations or taking decisions in the future. Secondly, Takaichi follows Abenomics, which of course provides huge tax relief to the people of the country, but may not be very helpful in taking care of the high debt situation for Japan.
Perhaps Donald Trump might be visiting Japan soon to meet the new PM. Any information on that and what can be expected from this one?
The US President Donald Trump is expected to visit Japan towards the end of this month, following his trip to Malaysia. He's going to be on a trip to Japan for about 3 days, and during his trip to Japan, he's also expected to meet the new Prime Minister while they talk about different issues and different concerns. The highest point of concern would of course be the US tariff situation. US has already imposed 25% tariff hike on Japanese goods, which is a point of concern for Japan, and we are expecting talks to happen around that as well.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Sanae Takaichi on her election as PM of Japan. In a social media post on X, PM Modi wrote, and I quote, "Heartiest congratulations, Sanae Takaichi, on your election as the Prime Minister of Japan. I look forward to working closely with you to further strengthen the India-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership. Our deepening ties are vital for peace, stability and prosperity across the Indo-Pacific and beyond," unquote. US President Donald Trump and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese signed a critical minerals agreement on Monday as part of a wide-ranging critical minerals agreement signed with an aim of countering China's hold over the industry. Both countries will contribute $1 billion over the next 6 months for joint projects. The US Export-Import Bank, or EXIM, said it sent 7 letters of interest totaling more than $2.2 billion to advance US-aligned critical minerals projects in Australia. Australia said in a statement that it would provide up to $200 million in concessional equity financing for the project, which includes offtake rights for the Australian government, while the US would also make an equity investment with the offtake rights.
We are discussing critical minerals and rare earths, and we're going to be signing an agreement that's been negotiated over a period of 4 or 5 months. And it was sort of good timing that we got it done just in time for the visit. And we worked together very much on rare earths, critical minerals, and lots of other things.
EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas said that Trump is sincere about trying to end the conflict in Ukraine, but talks which exclude Ukraine and Europe will be inconclusive. European Union officials encourage new measures to support Ukraine's energy security, adding the latest package of sanctions on Russia will not be the last.
I think President Trump is sincere in trying to end this war. That is very clear. We also want to end this war. Ukrainians definitely want to end this war. Who doesn't want to end this war is Russia. We should not be distracted. I think our course here is very, very clear. Our point is that we have to make also Russia to want peace, and that's why we are working, also trying to convince our allies all across the world that nothing can come out of these meetings if Ukraine or Europe is not part of it.
French police stepped up the hunt on Tuesday for thieves who stole royal jewels from the Louvre Museum in a daylight robbery. The museum remained closed for a second day as investigators pursued leads suggesting an organized crime group was behind the heist. CCTV footage from the Louvre and Paris highways have been reviewed to trace the 4 robbers who escaped on scooters. The robbery that occurred on Sunday has reignited debate over museum security following 2 other thefts last month, with Justice Minister acknowledging security lapses at the Louvre. In Brazil, the city of Manaus is facing a new challenge as the Rio Negro dries up. Tons of trash dumped by locals are now visible along the river banks. Daily cleanup drives are underway with nearly 350 tons of waste expected in a month. The effort aims to protect both the environment and public health. The UK's Millennium Seed Bank is celebrating 25 years safeguarding wild seeds. It stores 2.5 billion seeds to protect plant life for the future. The bank works with over 100 countries to help save nature. Experts say it's key to restoring habitats in a changing climate. In Dubai, Puppy Yoga is helping rescue dogs find new homes. The fun classes mix relaxation with playful pups, bringing joy to participants, run by wellness brand Yoppy. Part of the fee supports shelters. So far, 15 dogs have been adopted through these sessions. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. French President Emmanuel Macron signs deal with Slovenia on closer cooperation. Tornado hits area north of Paris, 1 dead, several others injured. Arsenal set for a blockbuster clash against Atletico Madrid in the UEFA Champions League.
Indian industries are facing pressure because of President Trump's tariff threats.
Even tariffs are part of the story, actually. If you were to look at the whole story of the deindustrialization of India, it began in many ways under the British rule. They say, oh, it's not our fault. India fell behind because you missed the bus for the Industrial Revolution. My answer is we missed the bus is because you threw us under its wheels.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. French President Emmanuel Macron met Slovenian President Nataša Pirc-Musar in Ljubljana for the Med9 summit. The talks were focused on climate change, migration, energy and the Middle East. Macron also announced a meeting of Ukraine's supporters in London this Friday. In a follow-up, Macron joined Slovenian Prime Minister Robert Golob for a document signing ceremony after bilateral talks on boosting European automotive competitiveness. A deadly tornado ripped through districts north of Paris on Monday, leaving behind scenes of devastation. The town of Aimont was worst hit, where 3 construction cranes collapsed, killing a 23-year-old worker and critically injuring 4 others. Roofs were torn off and emergency crews rushed to the scene. France's Interior Minister called it a storm of rare intensity. Videos online show the cranes crashing within seconds. Argentina's central bank signed a $20 billion exchange rate stabilization agreement with the U.S. Treasury Department 6 days ahead of a key midterm election. The agreement sets forth terms for bilateral currency swap operations between the U.S. and Argentina. The arrangement with banks and investment funds would be backed by International Monetary Fund special drawing rights held in the Treasury's Exchange Stabilization Fund that will be converted to dollars. India salutes its sentinels of peace. On Police Commemoration Day, the nation remembers the courage and sacrifice of the men and women in khaki. From the line of duty to the line of control, they have stood guard so the nation can rest easy. DD India correspondent Akshay Dongre reports.
At the National Police Memorial in New Delhi, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh led the nation in paying tributes to the brave hearts who made the supreme sacrifice in service of the nation. October 21st, 1959, a date etched in India's memory. 10 policemen were ambushed and killed by Chinese troops at hot springs in Ladakh. Their sacrifice became the cornerstone of this day of remembrance, the Police Commemoration Day.
सेना हो या पुलिस, ये दोनों ही देश की सुरक्षा को के अलग अलग पिलर्स हैं। इसलिए मेरा यह मानना है कि दुश्मन कोई भी हो, चाहे सीमा पार से आए या हमारे बीच छिपा हो, जो भी व्यक्ति भारत की सुरक्षा के लिए खड़ा है, वह एक ही आत्मा का प्रतिनिधि है। सेना और पुलिस में बस मंच अलग हैं, लेकिन इनका मिशन एक ही है, राष्ट्र की सुरक्षा।
The Defence Minister held the police and paramilitary forces as the pillars of national security, protecting not just borders but also the nation's social fabric. From tackling terrorism and cybercrime to dismantling Naxal networks, India's Khaki force stands at the front lines of every challenge. Rajnath Singh also lauded the police's relentless fight against left-wing extremism, asserting that the problem is nearing its end.
एक लंबे समय तक नक्सलवाद हमारी आंतरिक सुरक्षा के लिए समस्या रहा है और हमारी पुलिस, सीआरपीएफ, बीएसएफ, सारी पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस और स्थानीय प्रशासन ने मिलकर जिस तरह संगठित तरीके से काम किया वह काबिले तारीफ है। साथियों, पिछले कई वर्षों के हमारे सम्मिलित प्रयास अब फलीभूत हो रहे हैं। पूरे देश को अब यह भरोसा हो गया है कि अगले वर्ष तक इस समस्या का नामो निशान नहीं रहेगा। भारत के जो क्षेत्र रेड कॉरिडोर के नाम से कुख्यात थे, वह अब ग्रोथ कॉरिडोर में बदल रहे हैं। सरकार जो इतने परिवर्तन कर पाई है, उसमें बहुत बड़ा योगदान हमारे पुलिस बलों का और हमारे सुरक्षा बलों का है।
With coordination, modernization and the trust of the people, India's police continue their mission to protect, serve and uphold the law. Akshay Dongre's report for DD India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi penned down a letter on Diwali. In his letter, PM Modi extended heartfelt greetings to all, marking the second Deepavali after the grand construction of the Ram temple in Ayodhya. PM Modi affirmed Operation Sindoor as a recent example of upholding justice, adding that the festival is particularly special this year as lamps will be lit in many districts, including remote areas where Naxalism and Maoist terrorism have been eradicated. He praised citizens who have abandoned violence and embraced development, viewing it as a major achievement for the nation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also praised the significant milestone of implementing reduced GST rates. He noted that during the GST Bachat Utsav or Savings Festival, citizens have collectively saved thousands of crores of rupees. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also lauded the historic achievements of lower GST rates that were implemented. And during this GST Bachat Utsav, citizens are saving thousands of crores of rupees. Prime Minister articulated that in a world going through multiple crises, Bharat has emerged as a symbol of both stability and sensitivity. PM Modi also lauded the journey of a Viksit and Atmanirbhar Bharat. PM Modi urged citizens to support and purchase local Swadeshi products, encouraging everyone to embrace the spirit of vocal for local. Prime Minister Modi thanked Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for his warm Diwali greetings. Prime Minister Modi wished Netanyahu good health and success on his birthday. PM Modi hoped India-Israel strategic partnership will continue to flourish in the years to come. The Indian stock market held the special Muhurat trading session on Tuesday on the occasion of Diwali 2025. The Muhurat trading session is an annual ritual considered highly auspicious and marks the beginning of the new Hindu calendar year of Vikram Samvat. Muhurat trading session is a symbolic one-hour trading session conducted by the Indian stock exchanges and commodity exchanges. The Indian stock market opened higher on Tuesday in the Muhurat trading session, led by positive global market cues. On to sports news now. Indian wicketkeeper batter Rishabh Pant will make his long-awaited return to competitive cricket in the India A versus South Africa A four-day match series. Pant was sidelined after fracturing his foot in July during a test match against England in Manchester. The Board of Control for Cricket in India, BCCI, appointed Pant as the captain for the two four-day matches after left-handed batter completed his recovery. Meanwhile, Sai Sudarshan has been named vice-captain of the squad, which features several test regulars like KL Rahul, Mohammad Siraj and Prasidh Krishna. The squad is dominated by young upstarts who will be looking to make their mark on the international stage. The squad includes India's domestic stars like Ayush Mahatre, Rajat Patidhar, Abhimanyu Iswaran, Tanush Kotian and Anshul Kamboj, among others. India A will play South Africa A ahead of the much-anticipated test series between India and South Africa in November. The first match will begin on the 30th of October, followed by the second on the 6th of November. Defending champions Italy have confirmed that their star player and world number 2 Jannik Sinner has decided not to take part in this year's Davis Cup finals. Sinner, who led Italy to a successful title defence last year, has opted out for this year's final 8th stage, and he revealed that his decision not to partake in the Davis Cup was due to the busy tennis calendar. Several players like Sinner have voiced concerns about a demanding tennis calendar in recent weeks. Sinner added that he needs extra preparation time for the start of next season, hinting at the Australian Open in January 2026. He will also be in Turin a week before the Davis Cup to defend his ATP finals title. Arsenal is set for a blockbuster clash against Atletico Madrid in the UEFA Champions League at Emirates Stadium on Tuesday night. Arsenal are at the top of the Premier League table and placed at 5th in Champions League, while Atletico is placed at the 10th spot. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta said he was pleased with his players' commitment but warned that they cannot get ahead of themselves. Arteta also praised Atletico manager Diego Simeone, who has led the Spanish club to 2 Europa League and 2 La Liga titles.
The team, the energy, the temperature, the commitment and the quality that they can deliver, that it gives me that conviction that we can go all the way. But that's it. That's just a feeling that the next day you have to prove it, the next training session you have to prove it. and nothing else, and we cannot be busy thinking about those topics. Well, at the highest level, I mean, I think what he's done since he got to Atletico has been outstanding. Not only what he have achieved, but the way he's done it. I think the identity that he has created to the club, to the team, the spirit, I think they are very simple and clear to identify, and that's because the manager is very much them.
That's all in this edition of DD India Live, but do share your thoughts with us on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. This is Munun Bhattacharya from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.